All right, we're gonna move on to the minutes from last meeting. All right, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Okay. All right, all those who approve, please raise your hand. Okay. All those opposed? Any stains? Okay, those are approved. We will move on to our speakers. Well, open forum. Anybody for open forum? No? Okay, we're going to move on to speakers podium.
All right. This should be pretty short and sweet. It's like 5 or 6 slides. This is kind of the SGA Fall 2025 review. This is the first time we've ever done something like this. So it should be, kind of interesting. This was the interviews that some of y'all participated in. There we go. Might know if I turn this on. There we go. All right. For those of y'all that weren't a part of the interviews, there were 3 days made available for in person. Unfortunately, day three was canceled. I was out sick. Any members that were not interviewed in person were emailed the questions. On day one, I did have 3 people. Day two, there were five. And with the email I sent out to 28 members, there were actually zero responses, unfortunately. That is odd. Okay, I was curious about that because that was, odd that nobody got it. It went out on the 18th of November. Um, I CC'd the SGA email on it, so I know it did go to the SGA email. I just wasn't sure if it, just hadn't gone out to some people or if there were issues with the emails. I'm not entirely sure. Anyone, I don't know if anyone else got it because, okay. I know in the past, whenever I've tried to send out mass emails, it sometimes copies weird or it'll be typed in wrong on our sheet, and I'll sometimes catch it and sometimes I won't. So I'm sorry if that is the case. But the way the interviews were structured, they were blocked out into 30-minute slots. You didn't have to take up the whole 30 minutes. Um, if we did, it's more than welcome to. And there were really just four main questions, and should you could answer them as simply or as in depth as you wanted. And if there were any other concerns, you could raise them at that time. Um, the first one was simple. Why did you join SGA? A lot of people talked about they first encountered SGA at a tabling event such as org fair over the summer, or they were encouraged by a current member, whether that was e-board, Senate, or you knew that one friend who was in it and you were told to come on in as well. I can speak from experience. That is what happened to me. I had a friend who, asked me to join SGA. Didn't really think much of it, and you know, here we are. So, uh, why did people join? Well, the main statement was they wanted to make change, whether, they felt that their college was underrepresented or they saw it as a way to kind of address campus issues. I meant to kind of lead into this whole presentation with this, but if y'all have any comments about these questions, whether you were interviewed or not, or, you want to talk about your experiences or, you know, affirm or deny any conclusions I guess I made off of this, please feel free. Any questions, comments, concerns? No? All right. Expectation versus reality. This one was by far the most mixed. Um, it was both significantly more professional and significantly less professional than people expected it to be. Uh, on the less formal side, it was mainly in regards to the dress code and attire. They thought, it was kind of we would be coming to these meetings full suit all the time. That was, the bare minimum bar. not the reality, unless we're having like an important speaker, whether that's, the president, provost, something of that matter, where we, bump up our dress code. And when asked, like, should we move towards a more formal setting? Like, should we kind of push that professional image maybe a little bit further? Um, and even like, should the e-board push that, not necessarily like requiring the Senate all the time? That was also kind of mixed. Uh, Most senators stated that they kind of enjoyed where it's at right now, where we do have those times, like where we do dress up. They understand like why we do need to get, full suit and tie, full dress, really go all out for the important speakers. And that they mainly just wanted a more consistent enforcement of the rules in regards to dress code. And that'll be echoed, I think, later in another question. Others believe that, SJ was more formal than expected. This was more on the side of actually like how our general assemblies were ran, such as having to, I motion to do this, opening discussion votes. They just didn't necessarily understand that coming into it. And it was just kind of a barrier initially of, I want to say something, but how do I say it? Like, I don't know how to go about this. They really just kind of had issues with the structure and not understanding it. Senators felt that a more in-depth orientation would be useful to allow a better transition into their roles, which will also actually be echoed on this one. We got a variety of things for how could SGA improve. One of the things that was floated was more volunteer opportunities. Currently, we work with, the East Texas Big Event, Arbor Day, and I want to say there's one more that's floating in my mind. Okay. Mainly Arbor Day and the East Texas Big Event. If there's a third one I'm forgetting, I apologize. But they kind of stated they wanted more opportunities. Now, it was kind of mixed on should we be promoting more opportunities, such as here's the organization of the week. This other student organization on campus is volunteering with this organization this week. Y'all should go check it out. Or is it, hey, this week we are going to the food pantry? If y'all have any thoughts either way on that. Okay. Uh, Push for more serious discussion and for the Senate to kind of ask more questions. If I say Senate here, I mean like the General Assembly, not necessarily, just senators. Um, this one was kind of left very flat and not expanded upon a lot. Really just pushing to find greater issues on campus, whether in your constituencies or, even if it's not your constituency, if you see an issue, bring it forward. And, if we have speakers here, even if it's not, the topic of discussion, but it is pertinent to like their job description, ask them. Um, Expanding outreach that included, social media tabling, senator tabling, really just getting SGA out to the community more because a lot of statements were made about how students don't necessarily understand what student government association is. This is something I can kind of like personally attest to at the organization fairs. They kind of thought it was more of like a political organization, like government type of organization. And that's not really what we do. We are here for the betterment of the students, not, a bipartisan anything like that. So, how do we bridge that gap between, the students, what they know about us and what we actually are? Finally, the additional training for new members. This is really mainly in regards to the senator trainings you'll receive at the beginning. Um, I know it's kind of short and sweet and kind of blitzes through a lot of stuff, unfortunately. So people suggested, doing a more in-depth session, whether that's like and having other opportunities to host it, where like we host it a couple times a semester, so that it's not like a you missed it. That's unfortunate. We can maybe send you the slideshow, such as doing a one-on-one with an e-board member, one-on-one with if we have like a senator who's like a committee chair, a one-on-one with someone who's kind of been here and can kind of give you like some of their experience, explain it a little bit more in depth rather than just being a kind of classroom style lecture. Do you see yourself taking a larger role in SGA? So this one, like I wrote it down and then I realized whenever I asked it immediately, I'm like, I don't mean e-board chief justice necessarily. Sure, that, falls into this, but do you see yourself being a voice? This one was actually the only one that had like a pure consensus of really yes. Uh, the main barrier that a lot of people talked about is that there aren't a lot of opportunities necessarily, at least from a Senate perspective. There's five e-board seats, there's one Chief Justice, there's barriers to all of that, whether that's, membership time or possible like GPA. How can a senator do this as like a new senator, Um, an example, I guess, I'll give of one of the changes that kind of came this year would be Senator Houston's chair spot for the surveying committee. That is something unique. And, it was mentioned about expanding the roles and adding provisional officers to some extent. And, what that looks like in the future, that is up to y'all. But there is, obviously room for expansion. And I agree that, an increase in the number of opportunities would be amazing because for one, it takes some off e-board. But also it really just gives y'all a chance to kind of have that middleman spot where you're not just jumping, from here to here, you're jumping kind of through it all. Yeah, I think that's really it. That's all I got. Do y'all have any questions? Is there anything y'all would like to have like seen done differently, or is this something y'all would like to continue into the future? Oh,
I think having the feedback is good because it helps us understand, because we don't get to all talk to each other. I think to some degree it helps us understand what the group or what the general consensus is on things where there is general consensus. So it helps us understand what needs to change, whether that's in the Constitution or whether that's just, hey, we need to create more ad hoc committees and more chairs to give more people opportunities to lead. So I think it could be beneficial going forward in the future, but I think, like you talked about, there were some issues with getting a large enough sample, so sampling in the future could be changed.
I'll definitely say in the future, if this could be planned out over a larger period of time. Unfortunately, my exams just kind of ran right into everything. So that was unfortunate on my part. Something?
Working.
Yeah.
I just want to say first, thank you for doing this over your break and taking the time. I like them. I don't know, you can maybe add it to like the Canvas if people couldn't make like the meeting or for emails, if that would help. And you could do like a quiz on there or something. But I appreciate it, and I think like the whole everybody wants to have more of a voice, and the additional ad hoc committees could go hand in hand. This is more for senators, but if you guys have something that y'all feel passionate about or an issue on campus, you could probably make a committee or bring it up at a meeting. But I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Senator Mitchell, I definitely agree with the topic of more events and discussions and stuff like that, especially when it comes to leadership roles. I feel like if you do want to make a committee, you should be able to bring it, and that you should be welcome to bring it if you have any ideas, or you should just have more opportunities to be in those leadership roles, just not just for senators, but to take it off the e-board as well. And just being new myself, I'm enjoying SGA so far. I don't find a problem with the uniforms and nothing. I mean, you said I'm wearing a suit, so, but I don't have a problem with the uniforms or anything. I would just say that those times comes where speakers and people are here, those are enforced. When speakers like the president comes here or anything, those are enforced on those days. But other than that, I don't have a problem with that. But I mean, and that's all I have to say about that.
Senator Coburn, I think it would be really cool if we did like a bi-weekly like news paper or like yeah, newsletter. It's like because when I tell people I'm in the student government, they're like, "Well, what do you do?" Like, and so like I think it would be cool if we would like tell everyone what we're doing, like who we're meeting with, what we're wanting to do, and so on.
Senator Gasu, when I first joined SGA, well, no, before I joined it, when I learned about SGA, I thought it was only known for midnight breakfast. So I feel like we need more of an active voice. I know all of the senators are busy, like we're still trying to get voices and stuff, but it would be cool. I know a lot of schools, like their students are the ones who plan those homecoming weeks, reach out to different, well, not artists, but like maybe SGA can work more with the homecoming committee, with their advisor as well to be able to like not only being known during like midnight breakfast week, but like take initiative. We know what the students want, the different activities, take that week to create surveys, bring people in and make it our homecoming and not the school planning it. And we just put midnight breakfast into it.
I will say, the president, vice president, and our advisor do sit on the homecoming committee. Or I'm pretty sure our advisor does. I'm pretty sure he does. Um, I over the summer actually, I believe it was over the summer. Victoria and I got to sit in on one of the homecoming committee meetings, mainly just because they decided on like when their date was for this upcoming year. I do not remember that off the top of my head, unfortunately. And it was interesting, getting to sit in on that because this is a arguably like one of the largest, most important events on campus. So we got to kind of talk about like, hey, what is a tradition at UT Talk? Because we're trying to become more tradition oriented. But does that mean we're starting something new, or are we going to hold on to something we already have? And that was a hot topic that got very interesting. It got interesting. There were a lot of ideas thrown around. So I'm not entirely sure actually if senators are have or can sit on that, but it would be interesting to have senators on that committee.
Senator Yesick, I would really love a photo directory of the people in this room to know just exactly who people are, what they do, the roles that they serve, so that when we see each other out in places, then we know who those people are.
I'll agree with that. There were a few senators who, if I did not see y'all in the same room, I thought y'all were the same person. Um, would sit and Senator Choice, unfortunately. Yeah.
Senator Houston, I'll agree with what Senator Yesick said. I think adding opportunities as well for us to meet outside of General Assembly meetings, whether that is like once a month, we just book the ballroom and have pizza and we just hang out, or whether and we like hook a Wii up to the projector in the ballroom. Not gonna lie, would be dope. But I think doing something social like that, so it's not just hey, we're here to get business done. It's also hey, we're here to get to know each other, to hang out, and to have fun too.
I'll agree with that wholly. This is gonna make me feel old, but I've been here a long time and I've seen SGA go through a lot of changes. And the times where, we got the most done were also where we weren't, just working together in SGA, but we were also, friends outside of it. Because at the end of the day, this is like a, student organization. We're all here for the same reason, to get an education. We're all, going through that together. And it can be hard at times to, find time to just have time to, not have to do anything. So I think it's important to find those times where you can just kind of be social rather than business. It's also a very kind of unique time for the Senate. This is like the largest Senate that I've ever seen here, but it's also the youngest, not necessarily in age or like classification, but in that we had massive turnover and a whole bunch of new faces this year. So it like from my perspective, it almost felt like there was a gap in between because I don't know y'all as well as the group that I was with. But as I've gotten to know y'all, I've started to be able to see that like, hey, this is going in a good direction, and we still have a lot of seats to fill, even with this being a very large Senate. So I'm excited for that.
Senator Sepulveda here. Another thing is getting to know each other is important because if you ask me today that we're doing the special elections, I don't even know who to vote for because I don't know who they are. Like maybe I know one person because I've seen them in the meetings, but I don't know them personally to know, hey, they're involved in other things or they do this and this. So we are kind of forced to always choose and see like, oh yeah, let's make this person senator, but do we really know who the person is and what they do? Not really. So I think that's important as well.
Well, y'all that are up for election, y'all hear that? Y'all have 2 minutes to talk about everything that you do outside of here. What did you have for lunch today? No, I definitely get that. You know, it's a large group and it's hard to get to know everybody, but it is important to know kind of where are people's experiences coming from because, you might not know that, someone's been involved elsewhere or, is, just, you just don't know. Anything else? All right. Thank y'all for having me today.
All right, thank you for that great presentation. We're going to move on to committee reports. Oh. Yeah. Okay. All right, so reporting for events, we don't have events right now. For communications, I did have a meeting last week um, with a couple people, and we talked about upcoming projects and changes that will be happening. And so that will be it. SGAC.
SGAC didn't meet the Thursday of Thanksgiving break. I was at home. But we did meet the Thursday before that, which was the 20th. And we met with one org, Beta Alpha Psi. They requested $100 in Chewy's food items for like a little fajita bar for their meeting. That was meant to be is set to be hosted on December the 4th, and they were approved for 488.36.
All right, moving on to rules.
Rules Committee did not meet the week before Thanksgiving. Many people in my committee were traveling home, so we just canceled the meeting.
ESC. All right, and moving on to student voice reports, we have College of Engineering. Oh, thank you. All right, so anybody for College of Engineering? No? Okay. So School of Health Professions?
Great. So we met with the interim dean for the School of Health Professions. He aims to forge more collaboration through educational and professional fields through an disciplinary approach. He's also looking at ways to strengthen leadership through a student organization perspective while increasing their coordination efforts between the organizations, as well as adding professional pieces. He recommends that if there are any academic concerns, start with the faculty member, then escalate if the situation deems necessary, but all the situations will be handled fairly.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Okay, so adding on to the school health professions, I do have a couple other things we kind of want to mention. I had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Schwartz. So she's the programs director for communication disorders. So she is one of the leadership. So we talked about expanding awareness of SGA with both programs, especially graduate programs, because as you know, a lot of our graduate programs of school health professions are located in the Health Science Center. We also discussed possible opportunities to bring graduate and graduate programs together for some events. And then we might be designating a graduate student to communicate with the School Health Profession Senators about the graduate student needs, specifically in that program, but we're hoping to encourage that for all the other graduate programs that are located on the Health Science Center campus. I also did have an opportunity to attend a lunch to meet a candidate. As you know, that the School of Professions is currently with an interim dean, and we are in the process of looking for a new dean for the School of Professions. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to attend a luncheon for the one of the candidates. It was very lovely. We had other various students from other majors in School of Professions attended. So it was a good representation of the student body within the college, the school. We spoke with the candidate about advocacy within SGA, some student events that we could hold within the School of Health Professions between undergraduates and graduate students. And then they will continue to have more lunches for other candidates. So I'm hoping to attend some of those as well.
Okay, thank you for that report. Anybody for the School of Nursing?
Yes, Senator Morris here. I did want to, well, say greetings. I was able to go in October on the medical missions trip to Guatemala, and it was quite the experience. So, greetings back from Guatemala. I did kind of have some problems with being at altitude, 5 to 6,000 feet. So it's taken me a couple of weeks kind of just really just get back to myself. But in terms of nursing school, we do have our pinning for our level 4, the nursing pinning ceremony. That's going to be Thursday, December 11th. Of course, followed by graduation on the 12th, which most of us would be there for that. And I think that's pretty much it that I have for right now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Ivy?
I do have something. Oh, well, I'll let Ivy go. She may be about to say what I'm about to say. Go ahead, Ivy.
Senator Muita here. I did get the chance to meet with the site coordinator, Ms. Judd for Longview, and we did discuss some things. We talked about improving support for international students and the barriers that they experience, like limited job opportunities, and just having more support, like more support in the community, especially for students who aren't able to get plugged in with the support at the Tyler campus, and how it's much harder for them, like to go through nursing school, for example, when they're like far away from family. And I remember, I think it was the pantry, how they like have meals for like students, um, but like not a lot of the students at the Longview campus get the opportunities to have like meals during the holidays and stuff like that. We also talked about the parking issue and how there isn't much parking at all, and how she's reached out to some connections to try and make the like help the problem. Um, and then like talk about the commute and how it's hard on a lot of students. We have some students who commute from Dallas, and there's a student who in our cohort personally, she like was able to get deals with the local hotels, so maybe partnering with hotels or apartments to make it a bit cheaper and make it more accessible for students, especially if they're commuting from far away, or they're like international students who are new to the area and are having a little bit more trouble with that. And that's kind of just the bulk of what we talked about.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else for School of Nursing?
Okay. Senator Williams, I also had the opportunity to meet with Mrs. Margaret Ruel, who is um, the associate dean of School of Nursing, and we talked about how to inform preclinical nursing students of information that they might not be aware of, or information they can't get from the one stop or their advisors due to some curriculum changes, and that's about it.
All right. Moving on to officer reports. We'll start with me. This week, enjoyed Thanksgiving at home. Had a good time. Got some homework done. That's pretty much it. Secretary Burns.
Yeah, honestly, had a great Thanksgiving break. Got to spend some time with some family and sleep a little bit. Now it's just preparing for exams this week and finals next week. But for SJ related things, it's really just trying to. I'm excited about stepping into the role of secretary, and it's just been preparing for that by just trying to figure out my systems for doing things and getting logged into all the accounts, which you would be surprised how difficult that can be. But anyway, that's all I have for my report.
Barnes.
Yeah, so over Thanksgiving break, I worked on finalizing the budget that in the presentation that I'm going to be presenting you guys with later on during this assembly, and also looking over. I know that throughout some of my officer reports, I mentioned the SGAC guidelines a little bit and how they were kind of difficult to work with students. Just it seemed like a barrier rather than a guideline. And so, also in my presentation, I've kind of gone through the SGAC guidelines and pinpointed specific ones that seem to really be affecting student organizations. So that way we can hopefully collaborate on a solution to make it easier for students to request funding in the future while also maintaining those university policies in a professional manner. Oh, and I had Thanksgiving, of course. So.
All right, moving on to old business. Does anybody have anything to add for old business? No? Okay. All right, moving on to new business. I entertain a motion to hold special elections. All right. I did not. I entertain a motion to open new business. Okay. And now I entertain a motion to hold special elections. Okay. All right, so all right, so starting with our special elections, Senator Houston, are you still interested in the, okay? And then Senator Coburn, you're interested as well? Okay. So what we're going to do is a, we're going to do a secret ballot, and so I'm going to publish that really quickly. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I can't get out of it. Okay, so all right, we'll start with Senator Coburn.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Hayden Coburn. This is my second year to be in student government, and I'm currently serving as the sophomore body at large senator. And I'm also on the rules committee, and I got to be a part of writing the amendment that we passed. And I thought it was really awesome how a group of people who don't necessarily know each other could come together and collaborate and agree on how the amendment should be written, which I think is important on the student government, the collaboration. I decided to join the student government because a couple years ago, I got to meet my congressman, Nathaniel Moran, and he took us on a tour of the US Capitol in the Washington, D.C., and he gave a speech on his call to serve. And so after hearing that, I wanted to serve in a impactful way, in a meaningful way. And so last year when I got here as a freshman, I looked up UT Tyler student government and I ran for the College of Education and Psychology seat and I won and I've enjoyed being in student government ever since. I think that student government is something that allows everyone to have a seat at the table and it lets all of us have influence on things that happen and allows us to be part of the student life. So for as long as the student body will have me, I plan on being in the student government as long as possible. So I'll take any questions now.
Senator Whitsitt, so you said you served on Rules Committee as a member, and now being Chief Justice, yeah, sorry, Chief Staff, you would be doing more in like of a leadership role. Do you feel prepared after, sorry, um, do you like feel prepared to take on more of a responsibility, and what would you like to do with that responsibility? Like, what direction would you like to go?
I do feel prepared and ready to lead the Rules Committee because, I mean, the people that are in it are a great group of people and they're easy to work with. Something I would like to do is something we started last year, which would be going through the Constitution and seeing what things need to be changed format wise, and also changing some things that might be out of date, like how they still have like in-person ballots as part of the Constitution, which isn't something that we really use today. Any other questions?
I know you spoke about Senator Dumas. I know you spoke about recently in your 2 minutes about what prompted you to run for Senate. What do you think is the quality that you have that makes you most qualified for the position you're going for?
Well, I like to think that I'm always eager to listen to what people want and what issues they have, and I want to do everything I can to fulfill their wishes and try to help them in their problems. That's really what I want to do is to help them.
Senator Mitchell, in the case of someone not agreeing with you, what is your first response to that? Or what is your action that you will take?
I find that a lot of people in this day and age don't agree with people, but I mean, I have a lot of people who don't agree with me about a lot of things, but I try my best to be their friend and to see their point of view. Anything else?
All right. Thank you so much. All right, Senator Houston.
All right. For those of you that have not met me before, don't know me, my name is Ben Houston. I am the current junior body senator. And what I find most important about leadership is having a clear vision and clear goals to work forward. So, if you choose to elect me as your chief of staff, I have two goals. Firstly, obviously, working with the Rules Committee, working with the general body to get important constitutional amendments passed. The first two at the top of my head are similar to what the previous senator mentioned about in-person balloting. That's we need to update our constitution to ensure that we aren't violating our constitution every single time that we have an election. But secondarily, I think another important part of the constitution that needs to be addressed is the judicial board, because currently we don't have one, and there's nothing. If we don't have one and something happens where we need a judicial board, we don't know what to do. The Constitution doesn't tell us what to do, so it's important that we address problems like that. Furthermore, I'm already the chair of a committee, so I have the experience necessary. I've also been the chairman of multiple bylaws committees in other organizations, so I understand how to run a committee like that. Furthermore, the second goal is being an advocate. So I think SGA is some of the premier leaders on our campus. It's really important that we leverage that. And I'm a leader in lots of other organizations. I'm the VP of a fraternity. I work on a broader scale within Greek life as the vice president of recruitment. So I think, and I'm employed by the athletics department. So I think it's important that I would prioritize being an advocate of, hey, SGA is a great place to work with, whether that is, hey, let's do a joint service project, or let's find some way to have a social event where we can just hang out together. I don't know what that would look like, but being an advocate is really important to me because I think that's something that we lack in SGA is external cooperation with other organizations. So that would be my other priority. Any questions?
Senator Bergara here. Hi, Houston. My question is, you being involved in other organizations, would that affect you being the chief of staff in this SGA?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I think my goal is always to manage my time wisely. I have enough time, or I wouldn't have run for it. I think um, my goal is always to manage my time wisely, and I think I have more than enough time to be a great chief of staff for you guys and be the advocate on a broader scale that we need.
Senator Whitsitt, can you go into more detail about the plans for having a J board? Is there anything specific that you're looking at, specific goals or ways to accomplish that?
So I have ideas, but the thing with these ideas, the caveat I want to add is that at the end of the day, it's up to the rules committee. I don't decide what it would look like, but the ideas in my head are, hey, we can have a provisional justice committee that is led up by one of the e-board officers, maybe the president or the VP, and the Senate agrees on who is on that committee. It can be senators or it can be past senators, or it could even be e-board members. But being able to create a provisional judicial committee in the situation that you need one, because right now, once again, if we have a judicial issue come up, we are, for lack of a better word, SOL because we don't have any options.
Okay. I don't know if it's working. Okay. Senator Ramirez, sorry. Um, for events that student government puts on, midnight breakfast is obviously the biggest one, but for things like that, I do think the e-board has a big hand in making sure those things run smoothly. How would that look with you also being on the e-board for other clubs and like your fraternity? Just how would you be able to make sure that you're still fulfilling responsibilities in both roles?
I think it's actually a bonus to be involved in other organizations in that situation because it allows for me to advocate and say, hey, we need to have a presence at midnight breakfast because something for the past 3 years that I've been pushing the Greeks to do is, hey, we need to be more involved at midnight breakfast. And it's slowly getting better. But being an advocate externally, but also, like I said, I pride myself on being a pretty good time manager. Like I have to the minute or to the hour, generally speaking, what I'm doing in a day planned out. So I think the goal there would be, hey, let's figure out how I make time. And if I need to wiggle things around and make time, that's what I'll do.
Senator Dumas, the question was posed for the previous candidate, and I think it was a good question. Interpersonal conflict is a fact of life. How do you generally approach disagreement and conflict?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think my number one thing that I always approach interpersonal conflict with is, hey, we want the same thing. We want to fix the problem. This person just has a different way about going about it. So let's talk about it. I'm probably wrong. Like if you're bringing something up, you see a problem with my solution. So let's figure out what you see is wrong. Let's talk about the merits of both solutions and let's figure out what the best way to move forward is. Because at the end of the day, it's not about why your solution is right or why mine's right. It's about how do we fix the problem.
So I know you kind of already answered it, but my question is, do you feel like you're prepared for this role? But not only that, because correct me if I'm wrong, as chief of justice, you have to have those conversations with those senators who are not correct or who are not showing up with meetings and stuff. Are you ready to have those conversations with those people? Do you feel like you're prepared to keep it professional? If it gets out of professional, like how he said, in point of conflict, if anything was to happen, how would you handle that?
Yeah, so great question. I am absolutely ready to handle that situation if it were to happen. I have been the chairman of our judicial board on both the Greek as a whole scale and my individual fraternity, so I'm familiar with handling those situations and the tactical maneuvering that you have to do sometimes to not make it blow up into a big thing. But if something like that were to happen, once again, I think number one at the front of my mind is always lead with empathy. The goal is, hey, you made a mistake or something's not right. What's going on with you? Why are you've missed 12 General Assembly meetings. What's going on? What's like, there is something, if you're missing that many General Assembly meetings, there's something else going on that we need to figure out rather than, hey, you screwed up, you're getting kicked out of SGA. Like, if that's what you need to do and you need to take a step back because you've got something going on, absolutely support you in that. But let's figure out what's going on and why that's happening rather than, hey, you're getting the boot. Any other questions?
All right, if there are no further questions, we are going to escort Senator Houston and Senator Coburn out into the hall while the Senate discusses. All right, I believe we can go ahead and start our discussion. Does anybody have anything they would like to add or talk about?
No. Senator Whitsitt. I like both those candidates. I think they're both really good and they had some good points they made. I think Senator Houston has more leadership responsibilities already, but that might make him more experienced. But Senator Coburn has been in SGA for 2 years. So he does, and he has served on rule committee and knows how that operates. So I think they're both good. And I just wanted to kind of bring that to attention.
Senator Ramirez, I do think that they're both wonderful candidates. My only concern would be that Senator Houston has more experience in this type of thing. I do think he's more qualified, whereas the other senator, he's it's concerning. He's like, not that this is anything wrong with him. He's just more shy and not as, he doesn't reach out to people as easily. And when it comes to things like they were talking about of having to reach out to people when there's something going on with a senator that's not meeting requirements, I do think that based on what the interactions I've had with him, I do think it would be harder for him to kind of put a foot down about anything. I think that he may end up getting walked all over.
Senator Goldthorpe. I agree with Senator Ramirez says. I'm just worried that Senator Houston is taking on too many responsibilities at once, and something's got to give eventually, especially because what he'll be hitting his senior year eventually, or he's a junior, right? So, I mean, we have finals coming up, juniors, like we've all been there, well, most of us, but that's when a lot more responsibilities hit, especially if he is in those leadership roles in other organizations. I'm afraid that he may start lacking in one area, and it may be this one.
Treasurer Barnes.
Yeah, so I like both candidates. What I'll say regarding Senator Coburn is that I want to say my freshman year in SGA, he did like self-elect for the secretary position when that was open last year. And unfortunately, he did not get that position, but kind of just to go off of the notion that, okay, this person isn't in as many um, roles, isn't in enough leadership positions. You have to take into account that 9 times out of 10, you have to be elected into a position like that. And you have to take into account if they're running for these positions. Anytime there is a position of leadership that opens up, at least in this setting, he is very quick to raise his hand and step up to the plate. And so um, that's kind of my thought.
Senator Bergara here. My, from my observation, I was able to see that, what's his name? I forgot. Coburn? Okay. Um, I'm sorry. My Spanish is like translation and everything. But I have seen that he's willing to learn. And I think people like that, you can give them an opportunity because they're always willing to know more. So I think it's an opportunity for him to, and yes, he has been in SGA for a very long time. And if we give him the opportunity, I think he'll do good in that role.
Senator Sheeta. Both candidates are very good. They have a lot of experience, and their presentation was really good. But I feel like Senator Houston, is the best position because he has a law future for he knows what he's gonna do, two things to set up the Constitution because he wants to fix things. We never like when Vice President try to. What's your name again?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. You know, he corrected Vice President White's on opening segment and stuff like that. He also has a law feature for the Judicial branch, the Supreme Court, whatever. I feel like that's a lot. I feel like that's a lot priority we should do next year. I feel like he is the best position for being officer for next year.
Okay, Senator Gasu, I don't have any preference on any of the candidates. We just have to think about the fact that Senator Houston is leading the scooter committee that's still open. He is a chaplain. He's doing all this in the sororities, VP, so that may interfere with his responsibilities. I'm not saying neither candidates would be a great chief of staff, but if we are considering in Senator Houston for a role, me personally, I see him as Chief Justice, but that's just me. So, and with that being said, we haven't even like there's no traditional board, like he said. So we just have to work on these things. I think between the candidates, it's just one has confidence, and we've seen Senator Houston present multiple times. But again, like Tyler, even Tyler said at the beginning, we need to give everybody a fair chance. So.
Senator Mitchell. Senator Mitchell here, for being kind of brand new, not really knowing both the candidates as well. If I had to choose one, it would probably be Houston, but I'm leaning towards the other one as well too, as well, because he is shy. He's still a good candidate to me. But I would say only reason wouldn't say Houston is because he's so busy. You can only do so much at one time. So for it's a battle of experience versus someone who has more time on their hands. So I would say that the best candidate, and this is just my personal opinion, if anything, I would go for Houston. I would have to, unfortunately.
There we go. Senator Whitsitt. On the other hand, for me, which we all have our own opinions, and that's totally fine. I'm glad. I would rather give someone the shot that has continually wanted it for the past 2 years and, wants to take more of leadership because we can't give them the opportunity unless we elect them and give them that voice. And for me, I think that Senator Houston is a great choice. And I think if either of them get them, I would not be upset. I just personally would rather give it to someone who has wanted it and has served on the Rules Committee and understands kind of that background e- over someone with experience.
Okay. Uh, so something I think I kind of wanted to just confirm this term, is it for the next just semester or is it for a whole year? Since we are voting in halfway.
It is for the next semester.
Okay. I kind of like wanted to confirm this because we are talking about if it is too much like for Senator Houston or because for it being him being in so many other organizations, or for Senator Coburn, just to keep in mind, like this will not be for a full year compared to a semester. Uh, just to kind of keep that in mind that whoever we choose, like it is for a shortened period. Uh, so I just kind of wanted to like let people know that is a consider that should be taken into consideration.
Senator Ramirez again. I will say that is why I brought up with Senator Houston about things such as midnight breakfast and him, because it's also about to get back to where they're doing spring rushing for frats. And so since he did join later in the semester, he wasn't here for like their biggest stuff at the beginning. And so we haven't actually seen how he handles juggling between both of them. And then his several other things as well. And so that is also a concern. Like I said, my only concern with Senator Coburn is that he is quiet and he's more shy. But also, I think that if he's given a leadership position that he's constantly been trying to get, he may be able to come out of his shell a little bit more. And I think it could be good all around. Um, so I am kind of leaning more that way. I do think that they're both qualified candidates. I think that they are both very nice people. But I do think that since I could see both of them in the position, personally, I think it is more justified to give it to the person who has shown the commitment to SGA because, again, Senator Houston hasn't been in SGA very long. So even though he's doing well in SGA, he's stepping up and taking on responsibilities. He hasn't had the commitment as long. And so that's my thing.
This is actually more a question. Are any of y'all in rules committee and can like speak about Senator Coburn? I'm in events, so I know Houston, but I don't know Senator Coburn much. I talked to him at midnight breakfast and he was really nice, but
Right, Senator Sepulveda. Yes, I'm in Rules Committee, and I will say that he turns his camera like every time. He is engaging in the conversations all the time. I'm gonna tell you something. His house looks like he's the president. He has a whole like flag and like the president's on the back. He's like in full suit all the time. Like this man looks like he's the president. I'm telling you that. I will add that if I was in his position, just the fact that he's been more time on the SGA means a lot to me. He knows more about the SGA than Senator Houston does. He's amazing. I know him. We worked for talking about the education program together. He's great. He has great ideas. But I also see somebody that already has a lot and that could win more opportunities. And maybe this is one opportunity that is the only opportunity that this other senator is looking for. But he is very committed when it comes to government, when it comes to rules. He's engaging in the conversation all the time. So that's why I would say he's a great candidate.
Senator, oh,
Thank you, girl. Um, I really like where Andrea's taking this because what I was going to say was we're focusing a lot on someone's time management skills, and that is important. But at the same time, with all due respect, someone's time management skills is not necessarily the first thing that I would want to be considering regarding a potential candidate for a position pertaining to rules and mandating dress code, all that good stuff, right within our Constitution. And so I think that progressing forward, we should step away from the notion that this individual can or cannot compensate properly because of his time management or whatever he's in and really focus on what both candidates contribute to SGA and how their character would be positively applied in the position that they are running for today.
okay. Thank you, Senator Gasu. Thank you, Treasurer Barnes. And with that being said, I think that I love that everybody has been able to speak for people's character. I love what you brought up because I'm from events just like Kurt. So it's hard to like know or see other people because it's a lot of us. And to be honest, I see some of you guys on campus, but it's hard. So I love that you spoke on the character. We've already seen Senator Houston up here. And with that being said, I motion to close the discussion on the candidates and well, yeah, and motion to start voting, the secret ballot voting.
All right. We'll go ahead and have them come back in.
So the way this is going to work, you guys, is we're going to do a secret ballot. And so we're going to put a Qualtrics QR code on the screen, and you're going to get your phone or iPad or whatever you're going to use and scan it and be like, I want this person to be my chief of staff. Okay, so
All right. So like she said, you're going to scan this QR code and it'll bring up a screen on your phone to be able to allow you to vote, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Can I get a show of hands about who all's made their vote so far? Right on. Okay. Let's.
This is Senator Morris. I can't see the QR code on the Zoom.
Senator Morris, are you able to see it now?
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Is everybody on Zoom able to access the QR code?
Said yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn the screen off real quick. All right, and our new chief of staff goes to Senator Coburn. Congratulations. All right. All right, I motion to close, I entertain a motion to close special elections. All right. Do I have to do a whole vote? Okay. All right. All those in favor of closing special election? All right. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right. Yep. All right. I entertain a motion to open swear-ins. Okay. All right. If you could stand up for me and hold your right hand up. All right. Repeat after me. I insert name. Do solemnly swear that I shall faithfully represent, in the interests of the student body of the University of Texas at Tyler, I shall dutifully uphold and preserve the Constitution and bylaws of the Student Government Association while ardently executing the office of insert position for the student body at the University of Texas at Tyler. All right, congratulations. All right, I entertain a motion to open, sorry, I entertain a motion to close the special election and voting swear-ins. Okay. All right. Everybody who is, sorry, I keep reading this. All in favor of closing? All right. Any opposed? Any abstains? Okay. All right. I entertain a motion to open the budget summary and presentation. You want me to just go through the budget first and then the presentation, or you want the presentation? Open the presentation. Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's the time everyone's been waiting for, I'm sure, which is the SGA budget presentation. And so basically, we're just going to go ahead and move to that second slide. Just to give a little recap of what happened last budget presentation, if anybody wasn't here for that. This is our yearly budget, as well as what the estimated spendings were going to be for both the fall and the spring. And so I allocated $13,904.05 to the entirety for fall. And then I did 8,904.5 for events, which would be things like midnight breakfast, marketing, travel, consumables, all those good things. And then SGAC gets $5,000. And the way I allocated these numbers, like to be fair across the board, was looking at previous SGAC budgets and kind of going off of that to make sure that I'm staying consistent with how years have gone in the past. So we're going to go ahead and move to that third slide. Right. And so this is the fall budget breakdown. So on, you can still see we have like the 13,904.5, but for what was actually spent, we did $10,681.75 in total. And then that was broken down for events, which had $6,548.32. And then fortunately, student success contributed to the Sodexo cost for the food for midnight breakfast.
Hello?
Perfect.
Okay, that one
Okay.
works. Not only are we dying of finals, the mics are too.
So and then with student success, so yeah, they contributed a little over $10,000 for the food. And then SGAC, we did $4,133.43. So that little link at the bottom, Maddie, go ahead and press that because I want y'all to see kind of what I see when I'm doing all my budget stuff. So this is just for like transparency purposes. This is the entirety of the budget. You can start scrolling, Maddie. It's basically all of the events, all of the different student orgs that we met with, as well as what was allocated throughout the fall semester. And so anything in green was approved. That sort of minty color are the co-sponsorships with which we did four. And then anything in red is denied. And so at the end there, you can still see the SGA total and what was left over, which is 866. That will be carried into the spring. I will talk about that in the spring. So let's just go ahead and go back to that presentation. Right. And then go ahead and go to the fourth. Okay. Okay. Once again, so these are in alphabetical order. All of the organizations that we met with for the fall semester, there was a total of 18, which isn't half bad. That's almost 20, which is kind of what I was going for. And so to the side in the bold of all of these organizations, you can see how many requests they put in individually. And so most of them had between one and three, except NSNA, which had five, which is great. So go ahead and move on to kind of just a more in-depth breakdown of what that looks like on my end regarding the budget, just so everyone can know exactly how much money was allocated to all of these orgs. So within our SGAC meetings, anything in green that you see is the total amount that was allocated for the entirety of the fall semester. And so, right. Yeah, you can go ahead and, yeah. Okay. And then, so kind of my last little segment within SGAC before we get into the rules aspect of things is that, like I said previously, we met with 4 co-sponsorships, 3 of which were approved, and you can see in the green there what was allocated to them. Unlike student organizations where everybody gets $500, if you do a co-sponsorship, you get 1 per semester. You can get up to 1,300, assuming that you don't use any of those 500s per account tab. So that's kind of why you can like first gen and HSA, like you can see that there's a pretty substantial amount of money that was provided on behalf of that co-sponsorship. And then minorities in business and then the Beta Alpha Psi co-sponsorship unfortunately was denied due to Article 5, Section 3 and Article 5, Section 7, which we will get into moving. Actually, go back because I did not finish what I was going to say. So 1,268.27 what was allocated for the co-sponsorships. 23 requests were approved and then 18 were denied. Which is, of course, the requests are different than like the orgs. I met with 18 orgs, and obviously they submitted quite a few individually. And then the reasons for denial, just in case anybody is curious on like why I'm denying these people money that we're supposed to be giving them, because y'all do vote on this budget, right? And you're like, well, why? I'm approving this money. Why aren't you giving it to these people? I have provided an account of every single denial listed in every single email that I distributed, showing the article in within the SGAC guidelines that was violated. So, with that being said, you can go ahead and yeah. If anyone is curious as to why I talk about the SGAC guidelines so much, it's because sometimes they can be overbearing is not necessarily the word that I would use, but I would use limiting, just because in order to keep like a complete, accurate, and honest board across all organizations, I do have to abide by these guidelines. They are set in place to make sure that everyone's following the university policies as well as the policies that are set in place within our Constitution, right? And so, like on the previous slide where I kind of showed y'all all of the different articles that were violated within the fall semester, if anyone's curious as to what those are specifically, I have provided them here. Um, One of my winter projects kind of that I'm gonna obviously be starting over the winter is that all of these articles will be not necessarily edited, so to say, but I am going to include a couple more changes within the SGAC guidelines to make sure that students are able to easily understand what's happening in the happenstance that they do get denied for whatever reason that may be, as well as include a couple things that make sure that the student orgs are being just as honest with the SGAC as SGAC is being with the student orgs, because something that was brought to my attention was that a lot of the orgs were saying information that wasn't entirely true in order to appease the guidelines. And then once the event actually came and passed, it was found out that some of the information that they were telling the SGAC was okay. I don't need this. Okay, so sorry about that. third time's the charm. Okay, anyway, so like I was saying, yeah, so I'm gonna be working on making sure that everyone's just being honest because it's really hard to sit in a room with a bunch of people, obviously, your committee, and having to tell people we can't give you this money because of this rule right here. Sometimes that creates a bit of a negative environment um, as the meeting proceeds forward. And so just being able to provide a healthy and professional assembly of people where we can provide the funding fairly across the board. So moving on. So this is probably what y'all are more interested in is like the events breakdown of things. So midnight breakfast was so the food was covered by Sodexo. I said that earlier. T-shirts, we spent 6,216 and 5 cents, and then the decorations was 157.46, which was a total of 6,548 and 32 cents. And then marketing is the supplies for finals bags, which was 174.36. So everything else is kind of zeroed out just because we did not do any senator tabling, anything like that. We also didn't travel anywhere, so I did not have to allocate any funds to that. With that being said, though, that does conclude this budget presentation. Maddie, if you want to just go ahead. So that is my contact information. If anyone has any questions, I can also answer them up here for you. I did provide my email, and then yeah, so the last slide is just a cute little slide in the background for questions. Okay, do I just have to give them this seconds? Or because those are all dead, right?
Oh, this is fully charged. Okay. Senator Gasu, I know at the beginning, I'm not sure what happened, but we talked about t-shirts. Would there be like money allocated to next semester for us to get our SGA t-shirts?
Great question. Yeah. So basically, any of the money that Maddie, if you want to actually go back to the Excel spreadsheet, just go to the top there. I have what's left available. The top. Yeah, so we have a little over $3,000, not including our emergency funds that I set aside in happenstance that something terrible happens, which it didn't. We, any of that money that's left over does fall into the spring budget. And so we most definitely can get y'all shirts. Most likely, I'll just be in collaboration with Secretary Burns over the winter to make sure that we can get in contact with Leanne to make sure that those get to you guys. But I'm hoping to, because deadlines are how I work, so I'm hoping to definitely get those to y'all. Probably not the first gen meeting, but mhm.
Vergara here. My question is that travel fund. Um, I was thinking, I don't know if y'all agree. What if we do travel next semester, maybe to the capital or anywhere like Austin, for all of us to learn a little bit more, and how much is it given um, to the travel fund?
Mm, Hello. Okay, perfect. So I allocated 300 to travel for this semester. That can go into the travel pot for the spring as well. So it'll probably be like $600 for the spring that will be dedicated to travel. If a SGA trip to San or Austin, almost at San Antonio, to Austin is something that y'all are kind of wanting to collaborate on. I would highly incentivize y'all to reach out to me just for like I guess, fun, really the entire executive board, as well as like Josh, so that we can collaborate and going because that is something I also thought it'd be cool to like see the new courthouse that's being built. Like that would be kind of cool. But we need money for that. So I would love to see the travel funds used, most definitely.
Okay, Senator Gussie here, sorry. So like for the traveling, like if we wanted to go, like she said, the capital in Austin, like we have to talk to Josh first.
Um, so yeah, I'll be entirely honest with you. I would not be the one facilitating the entire travel trip, right? So the reason that I say incorporate Josh, like if you're going in person to schedule a meeting or if you're gonna send out an email, the reason I say to contact Josh is to make sure that um, he is aware of plans that we are looking for in the future. I can also reach out on behalf of y'all, like if you would rather, we can talk and then I can whip up a little email and send it out. Yeah.
I have a Senator Bergara. I have a question. Can like restaurants and local businesses like sponsor SGA on that travel fund? I have a question on that. My family is willing to sponsor a trip, so that's why I was asking if they would.
And kind of in the same realm of I'm applying this situation the same way that I would apply it to SGAC. So if an organization came to me asking, "Hey, I have this restaurant that I am requesting university funds to be allocated towards. Can you approve this?" I would have to check and see if your family's restaurant is approved for university pay. Okay, so since these funds that have been voted on to allocate towards travel are provided on behalf of the university rather than outside funds through like an organizational fee of some sort, the food vendors list is a little smaller. And so that is something that I would have to confirm with Josh, but I'm gonna be honest with you right now, unless like your family has worked with the university in the past, I do not believe that they would be approved for university pay for this travel trip. But I know that y'all are wanting to do like a fun little get together thing, like in the spring, like I don't know, bi-weekly or something once a month or whatever. So, if your family wanted to provide food in that regard, um, they could contact the university, get approved as a vendor, and then we could try and work something out that way. Anything else? Okay, thank y'all so much. All right. I enter
Senator Houston, motion to open a discussion on finals bags.
I entertain a motion to close the budget summary. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
Senator Houston, motion to open a discussion on finals bags. Uh, I guess this goes to you, Maddie. What's going on with finals bags? When are we stuffing them? Are they still happening? Can we get some clarity on what's going on in that situation?
Absolutely. So we actually talked before we started our meeting, the e-board, and we have some of our packages have come in, and there was a package that was canceled, unfortunately, and so we're just gonna have to do without it and just kind of get together with what we have. I believe me and Secretary Burns, we're gonna go to the office later after meeting and kind of see what's going on there, make sure everything's in and ready to go for that. And then I believe next week or even later this week, if you're available, somebody should be in the office if you'd like to stop by and help. We could really appreciate use the help.
Senator Gasu, the senators of the College of Education and Psychology, we were thinking of if it would be possible to also share a QR code. We're working on a survey to get the student input. So would it be possible to have that QR code available when we table for the bags? Oh, the survey. It was just like, no, it was like a general student body survey for our College of Education site to get their input before the D. Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, so as long as you're able to get to the best of my knowledge, if you're able to get the e-board to do a like full vote on it, as long as it passes through like a two-thirds vote, we would be able to distribute that. Yeah.
All right, any other questions on finals bags? All right, I entertain a motion to close the discussion on finals bags. All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we are going to move on to advisor comments. Oh, I did. All right, so I entertain a motion to close new business. All right, all in favor, please raise your hands. All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving on. Um, we have no advisor comments today, so I'll move on to announcements. Walk to End Alzheimer's is December 6th. And then the East Texas big event is going to be February 28th, so please make sure to put that on your calendars. And then, like we said earlier, finals bags, if you can stop by, please try to, so we can all get this done and help everybody out. And then our next meeting is going to be next year, so enjoy your winter break and I entertain a motion. Questions?
Alzheimer's. There we go. The Walter N. Alzheimer's, December 6th. Do we have to go to that one? Okay, we don't have to.
Cutting out a little bit, sorry.
My question was for the but I'm sorry. East Texas big event, February 28th. Do we attend that one? We have to attend that one.
Turn off your mic. Perfect. The East Texas big event is mandatory, so I would literally open my Apple Calendar right now and put that in there. Was your question regarding if the walk to end Alzheimer's is mandatory? It's not mandatory, but I would highly incentivize you guys to go. And I only say that because a lot of the discussion that was held today, which was absolutely amazing, did involve how we can collaborate with our community more, how we can show our faces more, how we can do more. And so if you can make the event, I would really appreciate if you go because you're getting yourself out there as a collective and representing SGA. And so, if you have something come up, I know it's cold, but treat it like it is mandatory because it's obviously as elected, you're elected as a senator, so it's mandatory that you fulfill your duties as a senator. Something you should stand for is attending these events, whether they're mandatory or not. All right, any other questions? All right, with no further questions, like I said, our next meeting is next year, so enjoy your winter break. And so I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.